How's it going? Today I'm answering the question, I just did a marathon. How do I train for Dopey? Okay, so I'm going to read this question. Thank you so much for Melissa who submitted it over on my Instagram, runDisney DPT. I'm going to read this direct. I just finished my third marathon with an amazing PR. Congratulations. That's awesome. I couldn't be more happy, but this is my first time participating in a Disney race, and I'm doing the Dopey challenge. Do you have any recommendations for training between now and January? I've seen so many different training plans out there. I'm not sure which direction to go. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so first off, congratulations on the amazing PR. Congratulations on your third marathon, and congratulations on taking this huge leap into the Dopey challenge. There are definitely things that you can do. So, first off, you want to focus on rest and recovery in these next 2 weeks. To give yourself the best chance at a Dopey finish is to let yourself recover from the marathon. And so that's at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3 full weeks. So I'm going to give 2 options for the next 2 weeks and the next 3 weeks of recovery. So the good news is you've already done a marathon distance and you've done it 3 times. So you know what your body feels like doing a marathon. So you have that as a bonus for when you're training for Dopey. Now, you don't know what your body feels like running a marathon after 3 other days of running. So that will be different for you. And you also don't need to train up to marathon distance again. You've just done it. So what we want to happen is we want to train enough so that you can finish all 4 days, but not overtrain so that you're so exhausted and barely even make it to the starting line. Because that's a big mistake that I see. I see a lot of runners will just continue training and upping their marathon mileage and their weekly mileage. And then they get to the starting line or they get to Disney, not even the starting line, they get to Disney and they're exhausted. Their legs feel like lead and they just feel like a slug and they can't move. We do not want that to happen. I do not want that to happen for you. So let's see if we can reduce the chances of that. And the first thing to do to reduce those chances is to allow your body to actually recover from this marathon. So typically after a marathon, I recommend at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of rest and recovery. That's going to be person specific. So, and actually race specific. So if you were just crossing the finish line, it was really lackadaisical and you took it uber slow, that is one way to race. You did not. You got an amazing PR. So you went fast for your body. Your body needs to recover from that. Your body needs to recover from an amazing PR. So give yourself probably 3 weeks to recover. What that looks like is you are walking, resting, and light cross training as activities. You are avoiding strength training right now, and you are doing all of the things to rest and recover. So you are managing lactic acid and swelling that may still be there from your marathon race or may come back when you go and do activities like walking, standing all day, cross training. So you may need things like my clients in Stronger, Faster, Finisher call them squeezy boots. And so they're those big pneumatic compression devices that you slide your legs in, those big bulky things, you turn it on and it puts the pressure to get out lactic acid and swelling to help your body, your legs recover easier, faster, more efficiently. You may need to get a professional massage to work out tight muscles, sore muscles. Again, some of that lactic acid. Drinking lots and lots of water, fluids, electrolytes. Eating to recover, giving yourself rest days to recover, using the foam roller, using the massage gun, stretching, doing some light yoga classes. Now, I personally don't do yoga, so I don't know all of the names of the different classes, but pick the things that are the light and stretchy ones, not the strength training and exertional ones. I don't know what those are called. I avoid the hot yoga right now. So you want to do all of the things to help your body recover, not overly exert yourself. Feed your body, let your muscles recover, let the soreness subside, and ease back into training. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast for any length of time, I don't like the term ease back in because what the heck does that mean? Well, I'm walking you through it, so that's why I'm using that right now. But we don't want to go full force back into dopey training. You need to recover. Doing 2 marathons in 1 year is a lot. Doing 2 marathons within 3 months of each other is a lot. I know there are people out there that do the 7 marathons in 7 days. I watched a guy on Instagram do it last year or this year. I don't know. In the last 1 to 2 years. Anyway, yes, it can happen. I can't imagine they are very comfortable doing it. So you want to make sure you're giving yourself ample time to rest and recover from this first marathon, especially because you got a PR. That is awesome. That is great. It means that your training is going to be different leading up to Dopey. So that's the next 2 to 3 weeks. So typically, if you follow my training plans, I typically say wait 10 days before you run again. Since you got this amazing PR, instead of running next Thursday, wait until the following Thursday. So that is going to look like, you're doing some walks, you're doing some cross training, you're taking rest days, you're keeping it easy. The goal of movement in these next 2 to 3 weeks is keep your body loose. Don't let it tighten up. So you don't want to do nothing because that will tighten up. And you don't want to overdo it because that will tighten up. You want to find the happy medium. Balanced is better to get your body feeling comfortable, feeling like, oh, I didn't go run a PR in my marathon 2 weeks ago. You want to make it so that you start feeling good. Then you're going to gear back up into long runs. That first long run, I recommend 5 miles. Okay, it's not wild, it's not crazy, but you've already done marathon distance. And this is assuming that you followed a marathon training plan up to your marathon and it went swimmingly. You didn't have problems. You trained at least about 20 miles. And hopefully you were following a dopey training plan and working in some back-to-back days in there. Maybe not 4 full days, maybe 2 back-to-back days, so your body starts getting used to what it feels like back-to-back and even back-to-back-to-back-to-back. Because that's going to be the difference for somebody who's going from quote-unquote just a marathon to dopey. And of course, I use just a marathon, kind of in a silly way. I'm using quotes because it's never just a marathon. But when we're comparing dopey, it's 26.2 miles versus 48.6 over the course of 4 days. In Disney World, in the runDisney world, we talk about just the marathon. And it's kind of ha-ha. But it's still a big deal. Dopey 4 days back-to-back is a bigger deal, because your body needs to be used to going back to back to back. So 3 weeks rest and recovery, then that first run, 45 minutes easy on that Thursday, and then the first long run, 5 miles. And then you want to work your way back up to 20 miles. Now, you're not going to follow the 10% rule because these aren't new miles. You've already done 26.2. You've already done a 20-miler long run leading up to that marathon. So we're kind of just recycling miles. So you could do something like 10, 14, 16, 20. You could do 12, 14, 16, 20. You could do 10, 15, 20. There's the it's not a huge deal of what those long miles you choose are. You may choose not even to go back up to 20 miles. Maybe your longest run is 16 to 18. Since this will be your 4th marathon, you don't necessarily have to do those longest miles anymore. You know what your body feels like in those last 8 to 10 miles. So you have a little bit of wiggle room here to not go that full mileage. I do recommend keep the long run uber slow. The slower, the better. Make those long runs take forever. Okay? If you're going to 20 miles, make that 20 miler take the same amount of time or even longer than what it will take you to do that marathon on race day. Now, I don't know what this runner's marathon pace was, how long they were doing that marathon where they just got the PR. I don't know. Was it 3 hours? Was it 4 hours? Was it 5 hours? Was it 6 hours? Was it 7 hours? I have no idea of that information. But for all of my runners, whether you just ran a PR or you did not, I do recommend that longest run take the full amount of time that it's going to take you on race day. Get your body used to being on your feet for that length of time. Even if you don't go that same pace on race day, you don't take that full same amount of time running, like you go faster, that's fine. When you're at Disney, you're looking to do character stops. You're looking to have fun. You're in a mix of people who are slower than another race because of the different minute per mile pace requirements at Disney, 16 minutes per mile pace from the last person crossing the start line. Other marathons, they have a sooner cutoff, so you have to maintain a faster pace. So you just naturally are going to be around slower runners at some point. So don't worry too much about getting to all of those long run miles. Don't do nothing, but figure out anywhere between 10 and 20 miles for those next 1, 2, 3, 4 long runs. Peak week should be around December 21st. You still want the 2 to 3 weeks taper for Dopey. And then in between those days, you want to make sure you're practicing back to back to back days. Not every week. Since you have a time crunch, you may only do this twice. This is a really good opportunity for you to know what your body's going to feel like on 4 back-to-back days. Then you get to practice what your fueling should look like on each day, and you get to practice what your rest and recovery looks like on each day. If you're somebody who tends to get lactic acid buildup beyond a 10K, beyond a half marathon, well, you might need to bring your squeezy boots to Disney. You need to know that. You might need to go and lay with your legs up against the wall, lay on the floor or lay on your bed with your legs straight up in the air to let gravity do its thing if you don't have access to those squeezy boots. That's a possibility. You need to know, should I do a hot Epsom salt bath? Is a hot tub okay? Does my body like ice better? I hope you know some of these things already, but if you don't, doing back to back to back days a couple of times between your marathon and between Dopey is going to give you some good insight so that you know how you're recovering before race day. This also gives you an opportunity, I mentioned, to practice your fueling. Your fueling for your 5K is not going to look the same as fueling for your marathon, but fueling just for a marathon looks very different than making sure you have enough carbs in your system for the 4 days. Because even though you don't typically, you as a general don't typically need fueling for a 5K, you need to fuel for this 5K because you need fuel for the half marathon and the full marathon 2 and 3 days later. So you need to make sure you're getting enough carbs and replacing, and then some, on top of what you're using for the 5K and the 10K. So practicing what you're doing for those. And then it's a Disney race. Disney races start at 5 a.m. for 5K, 10K, and half marathon. Full marathon starts at 4:30 in the morning. You may have to practice what you're doing first thing in the morning. Most of my runners don't feel like eating at 2 o'clock in the morning. So what are you going to have? Because doing a marathon that starts at 8 or 9 in the morning, very different than a marathon that starts at 4:30 in the marathon. Stomachs are different. You're not used to eating or waking up. Maybe you are. I don't know. These are things to think about though. So the goal over the next 3 to 4 weeks, no, it's not 3 to 4 weeks. We still have about, by the time this comes out, about 10 weeks before the marathon weekend Dopey challenge. You want to build back up your miles, max 20, but you are a seasoned marathoner. You may only go to 16 or 18. Give your body time to rest and recover. That's going to be the bigger thing for you. Making sure that your body is rested and recovered from your recent PR before you get into training again. If you don't give yourself time to rest and recover, you're starting behind and you won't be able to catch up in time for Dopey. So, couple of rest days in the week, 1 to 2, depending on if you're doing 4 back-to-back days. You may only have 1 rest day that week. So, Dopey training, I actually recommend when looking at rest days, look at it in 2-week chunks. Over the course of 14 days, you need at least 3 rest days. If you're not doing back-to-back days in those 2 weeks, have 4 rest days. Middle of the week stuff, 45 minutes. You could do speed work or you could just keep things loose and easy. It sounds like speed, not an issue for you if you're getting a PR at another race that's non-Disney. The chances that you can maintain a 16-minute per mile pace on marathon race day at Disney, the chances are good. Now, of course, I haven't asked this question of the person who submitted it, but that is the assumption I'm making there. And at this point, doing more speed work on not rested and recovered legs could just lead to more fatigue that makes it so that you can't get to the starting line. So speed work, that can go by the wayside. Go easy on strength training, especially if you haven't been strength training for the same reason. You don't want to exhaust your muscles in that type of capacity when you're gearing up for your first Disney race, which means it's also your first Dopey. So you just want to make sure that you're rested and recovered and getting that time on your feet. I almost said those miles, but it's not really the miles. It's just time on your feet, being used to doing that. So that would be my recommendation on how to go from a marathon to Dopey. And at the time of recording this, we have about 10 to 11 weeks until Dopey. So of course, if you're listening to this for the first time and you're a week out from Dopey, this does not apply. You need the 10 to 12 weeks for this information to apply. Thank you so much for the question. For anybody who has a question like this, send me a DM over on Instagram, runDisneyDPT. And if you're looking for specific guidance for your specific needs so that you can cross the finish line without feeling broken at your Run Disney race, that's what I do with my clients in a one-on-one coaching capacity or in my group program, Stronger, Faster, Finisher. The next round of Stronger, Faster, Finisher opens for waitlist members December 4th for a December 9th, 2025 start, which means you get training advice and guidance in that last month of training before your Dopey race. That would be for somebody who has been regularly training for Dopey, Marathon, Goofy, and wants assistance in that last month and then the following 6 months to adjust their training for the next year. But for somebody who wants help for Dopey 2026, the runners who should apply are runners who have been training regularly They just need that last little bit of oomph for Dopey 2026, and then we can get fully started after Dopey. That's Stronger, Faster, Finisher, and you can click the link in the show notes for more information about that.